Hello, Jingus the Wise, and welcome to your deck review. For those of you joining us for the first time on YouTube, this is a series where I, Maldhound, a profound hater, will calmly and lovingly review your commander deck's PP. Your PP being your premise and your practicum. Your premise is the idea behind your deck. It's what you hope it does. For this deck, it is Nekron Reanimator. So Celeste Company Awakened to Tomb World, which I do love the imagery of. The practicum is the stuff in the 99, which for this deck is not being able to close games very well. So we're going to spend a few minutes talking about their idea, if it's possible in bracket 3, or if they'll have to make any compromises, and then what they can do in the 99 to make it better. I'm not super familiar with the Necron's game. I would like to believe this is possible because every bracket 3 deck can support probably on the order of 5 to 10 pet cards. Now, possible while celebrating the Necrons, that is going to be the more difficult part. So we've talked in the primer about we can get close to winning. We can't quite get there. I'll get a board state, but I won't have like the overrun. I won't have the combats to get through. Other times I'll have synergy pieces on the field that don't really close the door. I've tested blink spells. They felt dead. We talk about Joshua Phoenix is dominant, who should not be in the deck. Makes tokens on ETB. I'm confused about that. Uh, Really, I think, based on the number of different cards we are referencing in the primer and the talking about pieces on the field where they don't quite do enough with each other, it feels like we probably over synergized this deck with most commander decks, but especially when you have a group of pet cards that you want to have build the backbone of a deck's theme. You have to go immediately to how does this pile of shit win the game? I say that affectionately, like my VV Stompy deck, pile of shit. And it just had to be after I identified the piles of shit that I enjoyed, how does the pile of shit win? So let's look at Celeste, let's look at the specific Necrons and figure out what we can do to polish the turd. So we have a 4/4 who wheels on ETB, and when stuff enters from graveyards, we put a +1/+1 counter on each creature we control. So if we can do regular reanimation, if we can do regular casting from graveyard, we will get a very strong board. So our board doesn't have to be strong to begin with. Let's look at our Necrons. So when artifacts leave the graveyard, make 2/2/2s. At the beginning of combat on your turn, artifact creature gets +2/+2. Okay. So if we reanimate an artifact creature, we get the artifact creature back, and we get 2/3/3s because a creature will enter from the graveyard, so we put a counter on everything. Okay. What's our next guy? Whenever Psychomancer or another non-token artifact you control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield or is put into exile from the battlefield, target opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. That's not great, but he flies. So if we put a bunch of counters on him, and then if we're really heavy on artifact creatures, we have like he's a blood artist for non-token artifacts. So there's like, he provides some value. Cryptek, when an artifact creature would die, return it to the battlefield tapped. That I don't think we would want to be in like a sacrifice strategy. Reanimation normally doesn't, unless you're reanimating little tiny shits. If you're reanimating really, really tiny things, then yeah, you're gonna sacrifice them. Like you're gonna put them in the wood chipper, reconstitute them, sacrifice them again. That's not what I like for Celeste. The main value we get from Celeste is we're putting counters on everything. So even if we get the thing back, we lose whatever counters were on it. And so the sacrifice payoff would have to be crazy, crazy good for me to be interested in that. You're a Necron. Whenever they attack, you can cast an artifact spell from your hand or graveyard by paying life equal to its mana value rather than paying its mana cost. Okay. So we again connect the dots between we want to have a lot of artifact creatures and we want to get these artifact creatures up out of the graveyard once a turn, more than once a turn. Then we have a big scary Necron army. You don't do that. You do that, fuck yeah. You kind of do that. Creature with mana value 3 or less. So we can do artifact creatures mana value 3 or less. I'm gonna hope to God there's better. Okay, another Necron card. Give artifacts unearth. Yes. Okay, another way to reanimate artifact creatures. Terrible card, but hey. It's not that. It's just Equip 4 is crazy. Equip 4 is disastrous. It's terrible, but we can definitely make it fit. What does Technomancer do? Mill 3, reanimate any number of artifact creature cards, mana value 6 or less. That's great. We have other guys? Or are these all the, yeah, blow up non-artifact creatures? Sure. Sack another creature. Add black equal to the sacrificed creature's mana value. Okay. So maybe this is where we thought we would be like getting deeper into sacrifice synergies. This is probably the guy I would like pick last for the kickball team. Maybe I will feel differently when I see the rest of the Necrons, but I think the rest of the Necrons have this very solid. I'm going to fill my graveyard with artifact creatures. I'm going to bring them back. And by bringing them back, I'm going to make a wider board. My commander's going to put a bunch of counters on the board, and my commander is going to help me fill my graveyard if I need to. That seems very clean to me. I think where it likely gets confused is trying to add on a like, oh, let's also do this aristocrats, like let's have a little bit of aristocracy happening. I'm unconvinced by this. That's crazy. Value. This is almost certainly where we went wrong. Okay, creatures are artifacts. Whenever you cast an artifact spell, lose 1 life, make a 2/2 black Necron. Sure. This means if we have, I wonder if we maybe got a little bit carried away with this, because I would believe in this for, we have a shell of a lot of artifact creatures. We have a lot of artifact creatures. We have Celeste. We have these Necrons that bring them back. And we're going to pick a few other things that also reanimate them very effectively. And then, hey, this will be the cherry on top to make them also artifacts. And that way, even our like few non-artifact synergy pieces can also trigger our artifact stuff. That sounds fine. But I think we did too many. Yeah, we only have 23 artifacts in the deck. And I think we probably did too much stuff that was just attempting to extract generic value instead of really, really hammering in on like, okay, the through line. The through line of the Necrons is artifact creature reanimator. So we need to have full graveyard, and we need to have ways to play artifact spell from our graveyard or bring back an artifact from our graveyard. And it needs to enter, needs to be a creature, and it has to be entering the battlefield or being cast from a graveyard. So it's not enough to just make it leave our graveyard. So the stuff I would say why is the stuff that is a generic synergy that does not achieve what the Necrons want. These are not compromises we want to be making when we want a deck to celebrate something. These are things we can do if we're trying to build a generically acceptable deck, and then hey, we have like a couple pet cards that would be cool to play every once in a while. But if we want it to feel like a Necron deck, I don't love Sion, even though he should be a good card. You're a Necron. God, Flare the Hatebound should almost certainly come in because of the possibility to do combos with him, get a lot of burn damage. Stitchers is good. I personally hate Sir Conrad for this type of strategy just because he is the opposite direction. Like Sir Conrad is not the I'm going to bring back a lot of guys and I'm going to beat you to death. Sir Conrad is the like I'm milling myself, I am constantly sacrificing little guys. It's like going to combat is a last resort for Sir Conrad, or you have like a Sir Conrad zombies deck where you have a bunch of worthless zombie tokens that are dying anyway. And this just seems like, oh, I'm doing graveyard things. What else connects to the graveyard word cloud? And that is where I think disaster strikes for some of these, for when you want to do a really specific theme like the Necrons. We have to be, what does the pile of shit want? They want us to reanimate artifact creatures. He is not an artifact creature. He does not reanimate them. He does like, he provides a little bit of damage for us reanimating them, which I think we can just do good enough that we don't need that. So reanimation. I don't love Bannon because we have to do it that turn. That is, I think, more restricted than it needs to be. Cian can probably come back in later. This does not trigger your commander. I believe it is like if you need to be worried about graveyard hate, then this is a decent graveyard hate card. My worry, we're not milling other people. We are not wheeling other people. Other people's graveyards are unlikely to be super juicy in the early to mid game. And if this card only has value to us in the very late game, then that means we've probably missed a game of Magic where we feel like we're doing something. I would rather be like, if nothing else, I would want the creature to enter from a graveyard. Since we're making a token copy of a card, but it's not the card itself, I do not believe this counts as a creature entering from a graveyard or being cast from a graveyard. And so it hurts me deeply to have our reanimation not trigger our commander's board building thing. Um, okay. Leo Christoph does do the thing. My question would be, why is this not Sun Titan? Is it because he says plus one counters on him? That's the only angle I can see, and I don't agree with that angle. I think that's again we're connecting too deeply to the word cloud of I have artifacts, I have recursion, I have plus one counters, and we're not being narrow enough about I need to bring artifact creatures back and then go to combat, right? Like most of these Necrons, they care about going to combat. And recur, we have to attack with. Cryptic is going to bail us out if we have a bad block. Psychomancer is going to benefit from little guys dying. This guy's making disposable tokens and he's giving like our best artifact creature a menace. Um, and so Sun Titan's one more mana to get this every turn. Versus we get it once and then we get like a medium big body. I would rather just trigger over and over and over again. Ghost Arc, we're not even going to look at that. That's a Necron card. I think Priest of Fell Rites is okay though. Just we can get an artifact creature back. It's only 2 mana. We can unearth it in the late game. That's pretty solid. Rejoin the fight. Okay. Oh yeah, that's great. Okay. We're gonna mill 3 and we're gonna get so this is actually I think where it becomes pretty important that we are really, really heavy on artifact creatures. Because if we're really heavy on artifact creatures, well, let me set up the other example. If you're not heavy on artifact creatures, you might not get counters if you don't have Celeste out. Hopefully you have Celeste out. You're gonna get 3 plus one counters on everything. Great. We are gonna have a good commanding board state basically no matter what. If we have Imhotep out, one of the guys that we really want to play with because he's a Nekron, and the vast majority of our creatures are artifact creatures, we're going to get 6/2/2s that are then also going to get the 3 plus one counters. That's going to be 30 additional power, and that's like that's the magical Christmas land of we get 2 specific cards in our 99 to resolve, and we have our commander out. But that's what I mean by playing for, like, let's play for the dream. Let's commit to the dream and try to see how close we can get to that good stuff happening really reliably. Um, yeah, these are all perfectly fine reanimation spells. I think the how many repeatable engines do we have? We have Anrakur. This guy's a fucking liar. We have Anrakur. We have Edgar. We only have Anrakur and Edgar. I think that worries me because I don't want to be, unless we have a lot of haste enablers. I don't think I want to be just going. one for one. Because the thing about going one for one is if you go one for one with your reanimation spells, which I realize not all of them are, right? Like Priest of Felrites, we can get two uses out of. Ghost Arc can apply it to everybody, but we have to pay a decent sum of mana for it. Like Rejoin the Fight gets you three. Like we can flashback Sabine's Reclamation later, but it's normally when you're using, okay, this card brings back this guy, you want that guy to be fucking terrifying. And most of the guys we can bring back are just like super normal value pieces. And if what we're doing is bringing back super normal value pieces, I usually prefer being like all in on mass reanimation or being all in on engines that can persistently reanimate. And so engines that can persistently reanimate is the stuff like Sun Titan, where we can recur on attack. Um, Stuff like Court of Ardenvale, which I don't think you should play this one because for this one, if you can't protect the monarchy, it goes back to your hand, which will non-bow your commander synergy. Um, but stuff that can happen over and over. Let's look at. Let's see if Reanimate Artifact is a tag. It is. So, like, I think Wake the Past could be a really good over the top finisher for you if we get your graveyard nice and full, and then you cast Wake the Past with Celeste out. Now we have hopefully on the order of 5 to 20 artifact creatures that have haste, and they're gonna stack up a million +1/+1 counters. Um, it's not quite as good as Craterhoof for you because you're not going to get trample or flying or anything fun on them. But this is the type of move I would be angling for, right? Celeste gets down there, she does Tomb Raider stuff, her boobs are extremely conical, and then she throws open the doors and all hell breaks loose. Rather than this kind of like, okay, I'm going to spend 5 mana. I'm nickel and diming you. I'm nickel and diming you. Do you want to tip 19%? That's the floor now. It's not 18. I know it was last week. It's not 18% anymore. Do you want to tip 21%? You missed the chance to tip 19. That's kind of what it feels like we're doing right now. And I would rather build up for a bigger bust later. So what? Iron Soul. I want to greed out for this, but it says attacks alone, and I really don't think we're into attacking alone that often. You could try it. I think there's an angle where you are not trying to crash out super hard in the early game and you're trying to build up this explosive board state. Um, and you might be willing to like throw this guy into the fray or throw our commander into the fray a few times. Ooh, Salvation Engine, actually. Yeah. So massive artifact creature banner. The crew cost is pretty steep. I don't think it's unpayable for our deck, but it is pretty steep. And then whenever it attacks, we're going to have something that's so big that it's going to be difficult to kill it in combat. And we're going to get an artifact from graveyard to battlefield. If this is an artifact creature, bing, bang, boom, counters on everybody. So I think the number one slant of this game is you are actually winning through combat damage. I would divest yourself of the idea that we are going to win through some type of like Necron aristocracy. We are going to win through a big pile of metal. Like we're going to win through a bloody car crash. We're going to win through a massive pile of twisted steel stabbing these people. And I think Psychomancer is like just here in case it all goes wrong. Recommission is not repeatable. That's opponent's graveyard. That's a shame. That's two or less. So The ready could do it. We have to be sacrificing and like we have to be changing out artifacts each time. So this would either I would want to put tutors in to be confident that we could get the guy who's going to make us tutus, or I would want to have artifact creatures that made additional bodies. And I'm not super familiar with the game there, and I'm not totally convinced it's the direction we want to go on. Uh, you could angle for fix what's broken. I think the next decision you have to make is okay, so we're doing artifact creature reanimator, we're doing combat damage. Let me huh? Huh? There we go. Am I reanimating big spooky or many little spooky? I feel like with what I've seen out of the Necrons, you want to reanimate many little spooky because that decision is like, do I want to, do I want to chuck Cityscape Leveler into the graveyard and then just get him back and hope that I can like take a bunch of combats with him, maybe make clones of him, like give him double strike, whatever the plan is, and just have one big Gundam run the game. I don't think that's what you want because Celeste gives you a benefit each time. Oh, it's one or more. Oh God, oh no. Ooh, so that means rejoin the fight is way worse than I thought. That means stuff like Sun Titan is way more important than I thought because we need these to be discrete instances. So that means the 7 mana spell, Raise the Past, that's dog shit actually. Don't play that. Wake the Past. This card's dead now. So that makes things simpler. Like that makes Rise of the Dark Realm a lot worse actually. Like low low key, that's way worse now. So now we want as many one off repeatable we want as many one-off repeatable recursion engines as we can, or as we can fit in. That's a sorcery. Okay. Mana value X. Okay, so I'm still on Salvation Engine. I'm still on Iron Soul Enforcer. God, stuff like Brilliant Restoration is really not as good anymore. I'm I'm a bit on Duretti Scrap Savant. What am I not on in this deck? I'm no longer as on. I'm still off Sir Conrad the Grim just because I'm a hater. I am not on General Leo Christoph compared to something like Sun Titan. Oh, great, same price too. Um, Super not on Bannon because we don't really want to be flickering Celeste, and so I don't want to be like I don't want to be banking our game plan on the idea that the right thing is going to have entered the graveyard that turn. I don't love Espers to Magicite. I low key low key don't love reanimate as much anymore because none of our individual creatures are going to be that good to reanimate, but we like uh no, it's still a good card because we can just point it at an opponent's graveyard if we need to. Um Rejoin the fight is less good than it was. It was really, really good, but they're all coming back together, which means we're just getting one round of this +1/+1 counter. So I think it's 6 mana. I would rather this be something I could do multiple times. I don't think I'm no longer as convinced that there's some like massive wombo we can do by bringing back 5 things at once, particularly if they're going to be like shitty, like lower cost artifact creatures. Um, which means I'm going to value like repeatable turn over turn over turn. I'm going to keep bringing these back, grinding you down. Oh yeah, hey, hey. I love an infinite. I don't like Swiftfoot boots. I nope, hate Saravok. I mean, you can just play this guy. He is a Necron. I'm gonna do my best to make all the Necrons work. Absolutely not on Joshua though. Sure, combo line. I would probably ramp a little more than this. I would probably cut Scourge Familiar. I you, it's hard to justify cutting Soul Ring. So I would cut Scourge Familiar. I would cut Agatha's Soul Cauldron. That's probably wrong, but I love hating on this card when I can. Big Score's probably fine. I don't like Bone Miser. Bone Miser feels like another example of sit back accrue value card. We need to be more focused on how do I get to combat? How do I get my important artifact creatures and how do I get out there and do something with them? Helm of the Host is crazy. Like I don't think this is great because I think what this does for you is it makes you tap out 2 turns in a row to turn your commander into even more of a lightning rod for removal. And then if you do get hit by removal, we're fucked. Um, yeah, Laughing Mat is fine. Sure, that's cute. I would not run Knight's Whisper. I don't think I would run anything that just put cards directly into my hand. We're in Mardu. That means we have access to wheels. We have access to like some repeatable self mill. We have access to draw and discard from red. I don't think I would be playing anything that just put a card straight into my hand because I want things to be. I want to be able to have things in my graveyard constantly so that I can replay them with a Sun Titan. So I can replay them with an Iron Soul Enforcer. So I think that means Knight's Whisper gets cut too. Village Rites gets cut. This guy sucks. This guy sucks. He can be here for the combo, but he fucking sucks. Okay, so here's a chief guy who cares about entering from the graveyard, and then we can just kind of like chuck him at people until he dies. Are there other what other artifact creatures could come in here to form this up? Artifact creature, Mardu. We would love 3 CMC or less because that's going to work the best with Sun Titan. It doesn't have to be that because like Iron Soul, Salvation Engine, Duretti, they don't care about CMC. I feel like this guy fits right in with what we want to do. Trap Trawler brings back to hand, which is the opposite of what we want to do. Fuck that noise. I'd probably play Milliken just to do it. Just put that in my mill section. Or put that in my ramp section. Casting a spell. Ugh, these are not very good. I think you could angle for patrolling Peacemaker. It definitely depends on how often your opponents are committing crimes, but our goal is to get a big wide board full of creatures with +1/+1 counters on them. Surge Conductor is kind of along the same lines. Now, my worry with Surge Conductor and Patrolling Peacemaker is these are again synergy pilled. They are more closely related to the main synergy of the deck, which is because I played this artifact creature from my graveyard, I put a counter on everybody, and now I'm trying to proliferate those counters to make them big. But like, if we don't get our commander down, if we don't get our graveyard full, these guys do clean nothing. So I would prioritize the things that reanimate artifacts or the things that get artifacts into my graveyard over stuff like Surge Conductor and Patrolling Piece. Boring Triad also seems right up the alley. It's a 3 mana rock, which does hurt, but it is a flying trample haste artifact creature for the eventual beatdown strat. It lets us mana fix, which will be important for a 3-pip deck, and it lets us mill, just a little bit more, just a little bit more. Always have the next thing in our graveyard. Don't love that. Iron Spiders is about the same thing as Steel Overseer, but it does give us a card draw out as well. Could try that. But I'm not seeing, I don't love the idea of trying to like really closely constrain this to the only cheap artifacts, because a lot of the cheap artifacts I'm seeing will also get us into the situation of they don't quite do enough. So um other good big artifacts we could reanimate, whether we're reanimating them with reanimate, whether we're like, oh, I'm gonna cast it for 3, oh, I'm gonna use Priest of Fellrights to get it back. I am a big lover of Threefold Thunderhulk. This guy is going to synergize with your counters. He is going to give you a bunch of 1/1 gnomes that will act as artifact fodder to trade out for your other guys for the things like the ready. Don't want to lean too far into that. I don't want to lean too far. I've had a lot of thoughts about other like, oh, then we would finally have the 1/1s to do like victimize, trade one guy for 2 guys. Fuck yeah. But until we have a lot of 1/1 artifact fodder, I don't think I want to believe in that. But Threefold Thunderhulk by himself, definitely good. You could do silly shit like rolling Hamsphere. Ah, but these guys aren't artifacts. That sucks. Yeah. Okay. I no longer believe in this one as much because the 1/1s are not because the 1/1s aren't artifacts. I think there's still an angle where you just like perpetually stack the rolling hamsphere to bring other stuff back, then bring the hamsphere back to get the hamster army. But this is also not a creature when it comes back, so I think that's doubly difficult. So I wouldn't do this. We have Threefold Thunderhulk. Other good generic ones are always Cityscape Leveler. What other? Hmm. One of our few, the proud, the bold, non-artifact creatures that would be really good for this is Anim Pakal. She is not an artifact, but she's going to make you 1 more billion artifacts, and she's going to scale with the number of counters on her, which means you get a little bit of a head start just when you reanimate her, and then we attack with anything. We get this big wide fucked up board. If we have Salvation Engine down, they're very quickly a like near lethal amount of damage. Yeah, so I think those are the types of cards I would be rebuilding this deck around. I would care a little bit more about things that scale with your own power, and I would try to stay truer to the north of I am building this deck around doing combat damage. If I ping you to death off of Psychomancer, that's okay. It's probably happening because a board wipe came down. But most of what I want to be playing is either an artifact creature, a way to repeatably reanimate artifact creatures, or some type of insane board bomb like a Neem Pakal. And then I think you have the appropriate amount of interaction. I think you can keep the combo lines. I personally don't like them because I'm a combo hater, but it's not so many cards that were really like fucking up the whole deck. Um, I would keep Cloud Shift. I would cut Eerie Interlude. I think instead of Eerie Interlude, I would play Morning Tide's Light. If you are, well, hold on. Let me think about the use case for this. This is instant, so we're doing it at the next end step. So this is board wipe duckage. Okay. So for board wipe duckage, I would rather be playing Clever Concealment, or I would rather be playing Flare of Fortitude. Either of these options are better because we don't want our board to leave. They lose all their +1/+1 counters. So we're okay with doing like one-off instant speed flicker to move our commander because that'll let us wheel again. We're okay with having a repeatable flicker engine for our commander, for our best flicker pieces like Technomancer, but we never ever want to be mass flickering this board. We want to establish as much of it as we can, and the only churn is like, okay, the weakest guy is gonna die to bring back Threefold Thunderhulk for the 18th fucking time. To bring back like, if you cast it, fuck me, dude. I thought we were finally gonna get to play Skitterbeam Battalion. All right, well, you're bringing back Cityscape Leveler. Have a terrible day. So if there is anybody with a Celeste deck who has different ideas, please let me know. Otherwise, I wish you the best, and I do hope this helps.